everybody, and welcome back to Depression Vacation Podcast. You're here with one of your hosts, myself, Shannon, and I'm here with our other host here.
Yeah.
Hal.
That's the person. I am the squishmallow that nobody wants.
Oh my gosh.
I've shown that TikTok clip to like 100 different people. I showed it to my sisters when we went down to Cape May last week, and they're like, oh no one wants Hal. And nobody here knows what we're talking about, but...
Well, so for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, there's a squishmallow out there named Hal. And what was it again? Was it an egg?
I forgot what it was, but it was just, the video like Shannon sent me was like, there's just this one dude. There's just one dude named Hal. Why does nobody want Hal?
Yeah, it was like fully stocked. And I was like, oh, Hal. But Hal, if you were a squishmallow, I'd buy you.
Yeah. The funny thing is, every time I see squishmallows for sale, I never see Hal anywhere. And actually, Karen, I think it was, texted me after I shared that with her, and she's like, well, apparently they're sold out online, so there are people who want Hal.
Good. Well, that had a happy ending.
Just weirdos online.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's been another 2 weeks since our last episode because, not for lack of trying, but Shannon and I had the nightmare that happens to everybody doing a podcast where we lost an episode a week ago.
Oh my gosh, and it was so good, guys. It might have been our holy grail of episodes.
Yeah, it was about dreams, and like a dream, it's completely dissipated, and I haven't forgotten it, but I really don't feel like talking about it anymore.
Right, well, I was thinking about that. I was like, oh my gosh, it was really good content, but it wouldn't feel like genuine if we tried to do it over again. You know what I'm saying? So we're just going to leave the past in the past. I mean, we can still talk about our dreams, but maybe we'll sprinkle it through some other episodes or something.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
But I need to wait for the PTSD of the whole situation to go over.
Yeah, Shannon was thankfully the more upbeat person because I kept being like, I'm gonna cry, and she was like, please, Hal, don't cry.
Yeah,
I still did. It's okay.
Oh, it's okay.
I'm like, man, I lost an entire episode. I feel like a lot of podcasts I do listen to have had this happen to them at one point. Like, I used to listen, I mean, it's not even a podcast anymore, but I used to listen to The Biggest Problem in the Universe when I was first listening to podcasts. And their sound engineer actually lost an episode. It wasn't their fault. It was like their sound engineer who had accidentally like deleted it, or his computer crashed when he was editing it. And so they never let him forget that. But
that kind of happened when I was a kid. My brother was obsessed with this one video game, and he had like 3 years worth of gameplay on this one file, and I may or may not have accidentally deleted it.
Oh.
So we've all been there. We've all been that guy that deleted the important thing.
Yeah.
So, and it wasn't anybody's fault either. But the important thing is that we had a great conversation.
Yeah. This is definitely not the most debilitating deletion that's ever happened to me. I remember when I was finishing Pretendagers my last year in Los Angeles, I almost lost the whole project for what I had put in like 8 months of edit work into it. In fact, I almost lost it twice because the first time my friend Damien was visiting me, I had my drive in my computer bag in the trunk of my car, but thankfully my car was broken and there was no way to access the trunk without the key. Like, you couldn't open it from the inside. And while we were in Hollywood, my car got burglarized.
Oh my God.
And they took nothing.
Haha, losers.
Yeah, there's always like the high of that. It's like, yeah, they didn't take anything. And that's like, oh, they didn't take anything.
Is that the worst crime you've ever been a victim of?
Probably. I don't know. Actually, the hit and run that totaled my last car probably was the worst one. The various crackheads stealing my Final Fantasy weaponry is another one, but I've always gotten those back. So it was probably, what was the worst? This could be a bad...
Well, we won't talk about the obvious,
Yeah.
But there's a couple of instances that come to mind. The first one, I left my iPod in the car, which is such an old sentence. Nobody has an iPod anymore.
Yes.
Oh, except for old people.
Still listens to iPods. In fact, quick aside, I dropped mine in the gym today and cracked the screen a little bit, and I'm like, oh no, I'm going to have to buy a 12th iPod now.
Oh my gosh, just use your phone. You have a smartphone.
I like owning the music. Also, I get super sweaty when I work out, so.
How? You can't hear it, but I'm shaking my head.
I'm yelling at a cloud here. This is my old man yells at Anyway, sorry, go on. You had an iPod.
My old man yells. Well, so here was the thing. It got stolen out of my car, and the guy I was dating at the time was like, how did your iPod get stolen? I was like, well, I may or may not have forgotten to lock the car. And he was like, well, if you didn't lock the car, then it's your fault. And I was like, no, maybe people just shouldn't burglarize things. Back in the day, people were able to just leave their houses unlocked, and nobody had to worry about people stealing stuff. And so you're telling me that it's my fault that somebody was nefarious and stole my iPod? I don't buy it.
Man, that's very victim blamey. Like,
yeah, that's why he's an ex-boyfriend.
Yeah.
That's not the only reason.
There doesn't seem to be a lot of empathy in that statement or sympathy.
No. Yeah, he was just kind of like, well, it sucks to be you. And I was like, oh, well, it sucks to be single. Anyway. So the other thing I can think of, this was the wildest day in the world for me. I think I was 12. I want to say I was 12. And I was, being a kid, out riding my bike and stuff. And I went to the library because I was that kid that would go to the library on the weekends.
Nice.
And I was on my way back home, I think. And I was on my bike, and all I hear is this screeching sound and then a crash. And then I see this car barely pass me up onto the sidewalk in between a lamppost and a trash can and barrel into a building probably about 30 feet from me. And the whole building collapsed. And
that's like the Killdozer of Perry County.
Well, no, that was actually in Shippensburg.
Oh, okay.
That actually was the building for, I believe it was it was either the Shippensburg Sentinel or the Public Opinion. And
did this person do it on purpose because it was a newspaper? Oh, okay.
No, I'll tell you. So he crashed into the building and it completely collapsed. So I had to stick around for a couple hours and talk to the police and everything because I saw what happened and all that stuff. What had happened was there was a truck, and it was a man and his mother, and his elderly mother, and he was like in his 50s or 60s or something. And he had a seizure, and he he hit the car in front of him, which was the crash I initially heard. And the car like swerved off to the side a little bit. And then the car that he was in kept going into the building, and they both died.
They both died? Yeah. Oh my God.
I
was not expecting them to like die in this equation. Oh
yeah,
man.
It was pretty horrible. And so I had to talk to the police, and then once I was done talking to the police, I went on my merry way on my bike, and then I got hit by a car.
Oh my God.
And it was on Good Friday.
Maybe you were not in the condition to like go out there. I don't know.
I don't know, but the guy he hit me with his car, and it wasn't like he didn't hit me really really bad. He kind of bumped me, and I fell over. I was like, ah, and then he held me up, and I was like a little dazed because I just witnessed an accident, and then I got hit by a car. And he stood me up. He was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Sure." And he got back in his car and he drove away. And my bike was a little ruined, and these old ladies were walking by me, and they were like, "You shouldn't have let him get away." And I was like, yes, because I am the masked vigilante of Shippensburg, and I go after hit and run people.
Yeah. Well, so I also got hit by a car on my bike. I was a lot older than you. When I was probably 23 or something. I was just riding my bike to the gym, and somebody pulling out of a fairly poor housing development in a Lexus hit me with his car. And he was an immigrant. He was uninsured, did not have any insurance on his car whatsoever. And me trying to be nice, Hal, I was just like, oh, let me just get your information and everything. So if you pay for fixing my bike, I'll be okay. Because I felt really bad for him. The guy was crying and everything. But then complicating things, I got his license number and his address and everything from there. And complicating matters, the next day I woke up and I was throwing up all over the place because I'd actually sustained a bad concussion. I wasn't wearing my bike helmet, which was dumb.
Wear a helmet, guys.
Yeah, I always wear a helmet now. But I had to go to the hospital, and also my shoulder got torn up a little bit that I didn't notice when I was taking my bike. And so I had to report this to insurance, basically, because I was an uninsured 23-year-old. I didn't have medical insurance. And so it became this whole big thing where the guy had gone out and bought Geico insurance the day he hit me. And I had to do so many, what's the word? I'm looking for depositions about what happened, because what he was claiming happened was he said that I was a close personal friend of his who took his license, wrote down his number, and was trying to blackmail him. And I'm like, if I'm trying to blackmail you for a medical bill, I think I should set my sights a little bit higher. But this became like another harsh like world lesson. Like, if you're hit by a car, always call the police. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was also 12, so
yeah.
Don't know what to do about that.
You were probably smarter at 12 than I was at 23, so.
Debatable. I bought a new car recently because my previous car was a 2010 Kia Forte with 206,000 miles on it.
It led a good life then.
It was time for it to go. So I got to sit through the hostage negotiation that is buying a car.
Oh my God, it's so bad.
Oh my God. And well, I mean, like, I'm excited because now I have a 2019 Nissan Sentra.
Ooh.
And so huge upgrade. Lucky me. And like, it's the nicest thing I've ever owned, and I'm scared to drive it.
That's how. So the first when my car was totaled outside the Harrisburg Improv Theater, what up, yo? Like 4 or 5 years ago, I had never actually bought an actual car from a dealer. Like, I'd bought a couple from, like, this particular car I had here, I bought from my parents, and other ones I had just like gotten like from a person. But yeah, it was quite a daunting experience. But I felt the same way when I took that car home. I was like, this is the nicest thing I've ever bought, and I was afraid to do anything in it, basically.
Yeah. Well, like, and I was talking to Ryan about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to snow, and then I'm going to have to clean the snow off of it, and what if I ding something with the scraper? And he was like, Shannon, it's not that serious. And I was like, I think it's $400 a month serious. That's what I think it is.
Damn.
And what was the other thing I was going to say about it? So I've had 5 cars. This is my 5th car.
Okay.
Which is too many cars to have. And this is the first one I've ever bought at a dealership. Mm-hmm. The first car I ever had was my mom gave it to me because it was her car. And it was a Ford Focus, and it has entirely ruined me for Fords forever because it was the shittiest car in the world. And my mom didn't take good care of it, so it ended up getting like metal shavings in the engine.
Oh man, how do you end up with metal shavings in the engine?
Not getting oil changes. Get your fucking oil changed, guys.
My light just came on today, so I have to schedule it.
Changed. Yeah. You do not want to be in the middle of fucking Tennessee and break down on the side of the road, which is exactly what happened to me. So that was my first car. My second car was a Toyota Camry. I loved that car, but then it threw a rod. And then I had a Toyota Corolla, which I subsequently totaled because I have never before this point been in a car that had a tire pop. And so I'm driving on the highway and my tire explodes.
Oh my God.
And I didn't know what to do. And so I was in the left-hand lane, and there was like the median part of it too, but it wasn't like, it was on 81 North. And you know how they don't have like the guardrails on some of it, and it's just a big patch of grass.
Yeah.
My solution was to turn directly left into the grass.
Oh no.
And it was like a valley. And so at the bottom of this valley was a pond, and the car went through the pond. And like all the way down into this gully and through the pond, and I mean, we were fine, but like it was scary.
Well, none of my car accident stories measure up to that at all.
Well, the cop shows up and he was like, "What happened?" I was like, "My tire blew." And
my tire blew.
Blah, 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 blah. My tire blew, and he was like, "Most people, when their tire blows, just kind of slow to a stop." And I was like, I see. Well, my goal was not to hit any other cars. And as you can see, officer, no other cars have been hit. So you're welcome. This could have been a much bigger problem.
Yeah, cops tend to. So, like, my big accident story I had, interestingly enough, at the exact same spot where this gentleman hit me with the uninsured Lexus in 2013. So, like, I guess 5 years later or something like that. I was driving my parents' old faithful van when I was home from California just for a week, and the brakes failed going through a red light. And it was one of those things. I kept very calm during the whole thing. I'm like, okay, brakes aren't working. What do you do? I looked to the side. I'm like, there's a guardrail. We could do that, or pull the emergency brake. I pulled the emergency brake, and the rod broke as I pulled it. So I was like, in a Warner Brothers cartoon, you're going to hit the car in front of you. And I did. And it was pretty nasty. And the cops were like super questioning me at one point. It's like, oh, yeah, you said your brakes failed. And I felt like I was being put through the third degree after I'd just been in an accident. And then the cop was like, okay, yeah, we can tell that that's true because there were no skid marks. I'm like, why did you ask me all these things then?
Well, the cop tried to get me. Well, my dad says he didn't, but I'm pretty convinced he did because he was like, how fast were you going? And I was like, the speed limit, you silly goose. I don't know how fast I was going, but knowing me, I've been pulled over 7 times, guys. And knowing me, very likely not the speed limit. So I wasn't about to get, I'm a seasoned speeder now, so he wasn't about to get me on that.
Did you actually call the cop a silly goose?
No.
No, that would have been so fun. Listen,
no,
you silly goose.
But he did. He was like, "Do you want to wait in my car while we wait for your dad in the tow?" And I was like, "Sure." So me and my other entirely different ex-boyfriend, we get into the back of the cop car and we're just chatting and waiting and kind of I'm feeling sheepish and whatnot. And so we see my dad pull up and then the tow truck, and then he was like, "Okay," and he gets out of the car, and then we tried to get out of the car. And
You're
we
stuck
couldn't.
in there, yeah.
And he's like looking at us in the window. And we got out, like he finally let us out. And I was like, bro. And he was like, you thought you could get out of the back of a cop car? You're silly. And I was like, oh my God, this isn't the time for your cop shenanigans.
Yeah. Another ex-boyfriend. What's the greater number? Number of times you've been pulled over or number of ex-boyfriends you
Number
have?
of ex-boyfriends, 100%. That's not even like... And
actually, that's a stupid thing to say because even just going in my head, the number of ex-girlfriends is significantly higher than the number of...
absolutely. I mean, and it depends. Are we talking about ex-boyfriends? Are we talking about like ex things that I've been a part of? I mean,
that's a good...
Yeah. I'm just saying, I just, you know what's really funny? I was having dinner with Ryan's parents the other day, and I just recently met Ryan's like childhood best friend. Mm-hmm. And Ryan was telling me about him, and he was like, actually, Matt knows you. I was like, who's Matt? And he was like, well, he said he had a class with you at Penn State Harrisburg. And I was like, do you have a picture? And he was like, no, he doesn't have social media. And I was like, okay.
He doesn't
weird.
exist then.
Right? And we get there, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I, like, sort of remember you. And we had a very nice time. He makes his own wine, and they had chicken, so they gave us eggs. Fuck the capitalist system trying to make me pay $6 for eggs. Not going to happen.
Kill your masters.
Yeah. So I get to Ryan's parents' house, and they were like, I told them, I was like, well, apparently he knew me. And they were like, well, were you worried that, like, he didn't like you or like that it was someone that you were mean to? And I was like, no, I was more worried that it was somebody I slept with back in college. But then as soon as I was saying that, I realized I was saying it to Ryan's mother and didn't know what to do. So I panicked and I said, I got around a lot in college, which is still a bad thing to say.
Yeah, you're not pivoting here. You said Ryan's parents are kind of religious too, right?
They are. They're pretty religious, but I think I'm becoming a bad influence on them because the other day, Ryan's dad called him a damn good trombone player, and he said the word damn, and I was like, oh, Brian Brady? He's getting a little spicy.
Oh, both of your dads are named Brian. Isn't that fun?
I know. One's with a Y and one's with an I, and it's very, very cute. I did pitch at one point, like, to Ryan that if we ever had, like, a boy child, we should make his middle name Brian, but spell it Bryan. And he was like, no, that's stupid. And I was like, okay.
If I saw that word, I would think it was, like, Biryani rice or something.
Oh, I didn't think of that. Rude.
It is rude. I'm in a rude mood today. Sorry.
No, I didn't. No. I was just saying rude about the situation. You've never been rude to me, Hal.
Oh, I should probably try in the future.
Oh, yeah, it would be nice for someone to bring me down a peg once in a while.
Man, this became a depressing conversation.
God damn it.
This is what happens when you play along too well. Too much yes-anding.
Yep.
But yeah, something interesting that did happen last week, too, was we did the open screen down at the Midtown Cinema, which was fun. I showed my series of shorts I did with Ashley.
Nice.
I showed a sketch I shot 3 years ago with a lot of people from the Improv Theater that I never finished until recently. And then I showed our Murder Basement movie, too.
Nice.
And I got some nice... Like, Wallace actually thought that I had touched up the movie a bit. And I was like, no, I'm not... I didn't have enough time to touch it
Our
up.
last video?
Yeah, like the one that was shot in my basement.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it looked more refined. I'm like, well, thank you. That's cool.
And, time makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah, I got to see his on the big screen too, and his movie was fantastic.
I haven't seen it yet. See, now there's a couple of films in my life that I'm saving for like kind of when I need a pick-me-up,
Oh, this would not be a pick-me-up movie. So.
Well, no. So I mean, you don't understand. Like movies that I know are going to give me feelings, like feel-good feelings, because I know it doesn't matter what Wallace does. If he made a movie, I'm going to be like, oh, Wallace made this, So, like, for example, one of the movies that I've been waiting on seeing is Moonfall. Did you ever see that? It came out last year.
I've heard of this movie, but I don't remember what it's about.
First of all, it's got like a ridiculously, I don't want to say all-star cast, but like actors that you have a great respect for just all being in the same place. So like Patrick Wilson, Halle Berry, the guy who played Sam from Game of Thrones. I don't know his name.
Oh, God. I actually don't know his name either. I was going to be like, oh, it's Samuel Tarly, but no, that's not his name.
That's the character's name, Hal.
Sam.
Good old Sam. You always need a good Sam.
Yeah.
Now, so all of them are in this movie, and it was amazing, and I loved it. Because here's the thing. I love terrible movies.
Oh, is this a terrible movie?
Dude. It was everything I ever wanted.
We should do it, like, Lauren and I have been talking about doing certain things. Like, we just went out and bought a lot of board games yesterday because we want to do a game night at some point. And I want to do a bad movie night at some point because, in fact, when I was in Cape May last, like, I guess it was 2 weekends ago at this point, my birthday tradition I do with my brother-in-law every year is we watch both Jack Frost and then Ice Cream Man. Have you seen either of these movies?
I saw Jack Frost. So I went to this weird after-school program for a long time when I was in like elementary school, and I have this vivid memory of them rolling out one of those big old televisions, and on one of those carts, and we watched Jack Frost. Do I remember anything about it? No, not whatsoever.
It's so like there are certain tiers of bad movies that like you have to be a very specific bad movie to be an entertainingly like laughable bad movie, like Mitchell, for instance, or Samurai Cop. Jack Frost is like all of these things because it is an absolutely ridiculous plot about an do you remember the movie or should I?
No, not whatsoever.
It's like a death row inmate on his way to the electric chair on the night of his execution, because they transport prisoners on the night of their execution. Ends up in a chemical accident that dissolves him into water during winter, and he reconstitutes himself as a snowman. The snowman is very much something that's like a Muppet that doesn't move, and it's the dumbest looking thing in this world. And also, they wanted to give Jack Frost as many catchphrases as possible, and none of them make any sense. Like, my personal favorite is, I forgot how he does this, but he kills somebody for something, and then he's just like, "Made in America." And so
they showed this to me as a child?
Okay, so there are two Jack Frosts.
Oh.
I just realized. So there is a there's a Michael Keaton movie that is a heartfelt movie with King Robert from Game of Thrones, and he dies in a tragic accident but comes to life as a very benevolent snowman for his son.
Okay, that might be the one that we actually watched.
Then there's horror movie Jack Frost, which is the one I just described to you.
I was going to say, I was like, okay, there is no way, because listen, this thing was like super religious, and there was no way. I was like, this is not.
I was so surprised when you said, okay, so you have not seen Jack Frost,
Not the one you just described, no.
Oh, we're going to. This is...
I'm going to have to watch it. No, but, so the actor's name is John Bradley, by the way.
Never would have guessed that.
No, I had no idea. But the Moonfall, I saw the trailer for it, and I was like, oh my God, this movie is going to be the pièce de résistance of like really bad movies. And I was so right. And I watched it yesterday, and I loved it. And basically what it is that the moon is in the process of crashing into the Earth. Like something knocks it off its orbit, crashing into the Earth.
The world stands on the brink of annihilation when a mysterious force knocks the moon from its orbit and sends it hurtling towards Earth. Yeah.
Dude, it was so fun to watch. It was just, I mean, like, Ryan doesn't get why I like movies like this. And I think it's mostly because, like, the ridiculousness of it just, I don't know, it charms me, Oh,
there's such a charm with bad movies. And I think that's why, like, Mystery Science Theater obviously tapped into something that people already were kind of wanting to do. But there's, like, I think the reason that people like bad movies, because I absolutely love bad movies, is that really a lot of people can make an adequate or like good movie to a certain extent. But then like bad movies, at least the best ones, are so completely unique in the way that they miss the mark on what a good movie is supposed to be, that it's so entertaining to see somebody just make all of the wrong decisions. And then like all the bad filmmakers never make all of the same wrong decisions. Mm-hmm. It's all like, or if you're Tommy Wiseau, you make every single wrong decision possible.
Well, I mean, the thing with Moonfall is that there were no original ideas whatsoever. Loved it. And actually, the visual effects were actually pretty good. I mean, I'm not the best, not Avatar level like special effects, but not pretty decent special effects.
That's good.
And now the only thing was, I don't know who was in charge of the camera work, but they did that movie no favors. Like they kept cutting off Patrick Wilson's chin. And I was like...
That's the best part of him.
I was like, I thought we were supposed to see the guy's whole face when he talked, but apparently not. It was just... It went in a direction that I was like, okay, this is really funny. And then it set itself up for a sequel, and I was like, fuck yeah.
It's funny, because when I just Googled Moonfall 2 was the top thing
that
people were Googling on there. So I would assume that there's at least talk of a sequel.
Oh, it set it up for one. It was one of those things where one of the characters was like, all right, let's get started. And then cut to credits. Like, clearly there's going to be a sequel. And I'm so excited. And Ryan sat through, like, the majority of the film with me. And he was like, what did I just watch? And I was like, a masterpiece is what you just watched. Now, a funny thing I love Mystery Science Theater, too. Mm-hmm. And what I never realized, there was a film that I watched as a child that I just assumed was a good movie because it was shown to me by responsible adults. And that movie was Mac and Me.
Oh, same here. Like Mac and Me.
And so imagine my surprise when it shows up on Mystery Science Theater. And I was like, is this a bad movie? And I watched that episode and I was like, oh my God, I was lied to.
So I have this thing about like, if something is designed to be a children's movie, I feel like a certain level of badness is okay. Like a good one for me is Masters of the Universe, because I loved that movie as a kid, like absolutely. And then as an adult, I can see it's a piece of hot garbage. Like it is such a crazy, like ridiculous movie that then inexplicably has Frank Langella playing Skeletor in an incredibly impassioned role that he like does not hold any punches in. And it's like, why are you giving this level of effort to playing Skeletor in Masters of the Universe?
Hey, listen, sometimes I think that's the kind of energy I like to bring to the table is like I'm given something, and I shouldn't be proud of it and I shouldn't put as much effort into it as I do. But the fact that I want to and like just give 100% of myself to something incredibly stupid, like that's my favorite kind of energy.
Me too.
I love it.
Yeah, Back in Me was a movie I watched once as a kid, and I actually enjoyed it. Like, it was very much in the vein of like Batteries Not Included. Obviously, it was a knockoff of E.T. Mm-hmm. But as a kid, like all of the stupidity, like what was it? Pepsi is the thing that they whore out to like so much because Pepsi is what cures all wounds. And it actually wasn't until like I didn't realize it was a bad movie until we went to a taping of. I think it was the Jimmy Kimmel Show the first week we were in Los Angeles, and Paul Rudd was the guest, and I didn't realize that Paul Rudd had a recurring gag where instead of showing clips from the movie that he was doing, he would just show ridiculous clips from Mac and Me whenever on the Jimmy Kimmel Show. And he was there promoting Our Idiot Brother, and he was just like showing all these clips from Mac and Me, like the wheelchair kid going over the cliff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, was I lied to? I enjoyed this when I was a kid.
I think we were all lied to. Another one that I saw that when I was a kid from this same like after school program was A Kid in King Arthur's Court.
Oh,
that was something they wanted to show all the time, and I was like, guys, I don't know why you are so obsessed with this movie, but stop.
Why can't I think of his name? He's one of the American Pie kids, and the Rookie of the Year. He was in a lot of baseball movies as a kid.
I don't know.
There were so many people. Like, you want to talk about star-studded weird cast for a bad movie? Daniel Craig was the villain in that movie.
I remember jack shit from that movie. That's what I remember.
Scarlett Johansson was in that movie, too.
Really?
Yeah, and oh, man, there were so many, like, weird people in that movie. I love it when there's, like, all these, like, weird stack casts of people who became famous later on.
Actually, another thing I wanted to check, because it was so outrageous, and I have to check it. Hold on. Because I'm back on Moonfall again, because I was just so ecstatic. I was like, I'm really glad I held out for myself. The only thing I do regret is I kind of wanted to see it in theaters, just for the beauty of seeing a bad movie in theaters.
You want the moon to fall on your chin. You want the moon to fall from
Holy shit,
within.
I was right. Donald fucking Sutherland is in that movie. For like 3 minutes.
He probably cost $3 million for those 3 minutes.
Like, I love everything about it. And that one other guy that I can never... He's been in, like, a bunch of things.
Just tell me what he's been in. I could probably tell you what his name
Michael
is.
Pena.
Oh, Michael Pena, yeah.
I don't... Like, it's... And I'm not saying that it's, like, an overly bad movie. It was actually better than I thought it was going to be. But the sheer ridiculousness of it, and, like... You could kind of see, like, especially with Patrick Wilson, because he's obviously, like, the lead hero guy, a lot of his lines were delivered like, oh, I can't believe I'm going to utter this out loud. And I loved it.
I love it when that happens, because one of my favorite bad movies, which I've talked about before, because it is a Christmas movie, is Surviving Christmas. And I did just watch it again recently because I missed it this Christmas season. And the one thing I always notice is that, like, James Gandolfini in that movie has no joy on his face as he's saying anything, and he realizes it's such a ridiculous movie. In fact, going back to my two favorite birthday bad movies, Ice Cream Man. Have you heard of this one?
No.
So Ice Cream Man is a rare movie that stars Clint Howard. It doesn't just have Clint Howard in it for like 2 seconds because he's Ron Howard's brother. And he plays a murderous ice cream man who was a child sent to an asylum and driven crazy and now murders people using ice cream paraphernalia.
Love it.
But there's a weird moment, like 2/3 of the way through the movie, where the cops investigating his past discover that the asylum he was released for has actually been taken over by inmates for the last several years, and it's a literal crazy town. And it's Jan Michael Vincent, I think is his name, who plays one of the cops, was like a mild star in the 90s, and they paid to do this movie. There's a sequence where they, like, all the inmates are rushing them, and the two of them are trying to run to get out of the place, and he's just gingerly walking down the hall because he does not care whatsoever.
Oh my God.
And it's so awkward because the actors playing the inmates were clearly expecting a chase scene, but instead this guy is just sort of walking gingerly, and so they're like frantically walking with him in the back, trying to make it look like they're rushing him, and he just does not care. No.
Oh my God.
Another reason I love Ice Cream Man, the movie.
I'm going to have to check that out.
If you guys haven't seen Ice Cream Man, go see Ice Cream Man. Clint Howard has been trying to make Ice Cream Man 2 for decades, and I don't think it deserves that, but
maybe it does. I can't be the judge of that without seeing it.
Well, going back to the other movie I talk about, Jack Frost does have a sequel where
Nice.
What would you expect is one of the worst places you could set a movie featuring a killer snowman?
Hawaii.
They take a Caribbean vacation, and Jack Frost goes with them. The snowman is not in the movie very much because of the physics of the Caribbean, but it was not a good movie.
Makes sense. I definitely have a thing for volcanoes, though. So is there a volcano in the movie?
No volcano.
Oh, well, then I'm not watching it.
All right, fine. You don't have to.
I like volcanoes.
All right, I will find movies with volcanoes for Shannon.
Yes. I love movies. So one of my favorite one of my favorite types of bad movies are creature features.
Yeah.
I fucking love creature features. Like, I think the new Godzilla movies, excuse me, I'm dying.
Me too. Just slowly.
Are like horribly campy, but I love them. Like, I saw Godzilla versus Kong and had a blast. And I knew it was bad, but I loved it.
Yeah, have you watched any of the new Mystery Science Theater, like the one that they did like maybe 5 years ago on Netflix with Felicia? They were very heavy on like international creature features, like Reptilicus.
I was having so much fun.
Yeah, that was a fun.
I watched every episode.
I didn't watch every episode, but like I should because I was having a blast watching. Because the first two were like Swedish creature feature horror movies, and of course, like Godzilla versus Megalon is probably the king of those bad creature features.
Nice.
It's the one where Godzilla does the drop kick on his tail.
Excuse me. I have, oh gosh. I think I just coughed out my idea.
Bye idea.
So there's another movie that that I'm waiting on. It's already, and I mean waiting on just for like when I'm in the right mood to watch it. And it's on Netflix. It's called Troll, and it's a Norwegian film, and the troll in it is huge.
This is not the troll from like the 80s, correct?
No, this is a brand new movie.
Okay.
And it's Norwegian or whatever, and I saw the trailer and I'm so stoked. And I don't know when I'm going to watch it, but I'm just waiting for one of the days like I had yesterday to just sit down and watch an incredibly outrageous film.
Yeah, I really think this should be a party at some point.
Yes.
Like, the
everybody like brings their craziest movie, their greatest bad movie that they love.
This is where my brother-in-law Steve comes in very handy because he has an encyclopedic knowledge of like not just bad movies but some very interesting ones you probably wouldn't have heard of. Like over the summer, the problem is that a lot of these bad movies, like there's definitely a line where you're getting diminishing returns by how bad your movie is. Mm-hmm. And there's this one filmmaker he liked to show me a lot named Neil Bream, who is like a super, super rich person and has spent like tens of 20s of millions of dollars on these incredibly bad features that are just so like wooden and whatsoever. And he claims that he has like an acting or he has a directing and acting for film course he teaches that costs $5,000. And I'm like, who would take a course from this person? But he has like, there's another movie he introduced me to called Love on a Leash. I can see you haven't heard of this movie.
Oh, I think that my idea of what the movie is either going to be spot on or it's going to be like wildly off.
Okay. Let's play a game then. What do you think Love on a Leash is about?
I think it's about a person. It's a romantic comedy about a person who's in love with another person who thinks they're a dog.
Okay, you're in the right ballpark.
Okay.
It's more ridiculous.
God damn it.
Okay, so the plot is that this person gets cursed by a fairy in a waterfall in a park in Los Angeles, and he gets turned into a golden retriever until he can find his one true love. So then he singles out this one girl as his one true love, but she only breaks half the curse. So he's an incredibly handsome person whose voice does not match the dog's voice at night, and then a dog during the day. And they have a romance with each other. It is very weird. It is very creepy on some levels. I showed Lauren the trailer, and she said she's not ready to watch something like that yet.
I said, what did I say? I don't know what I said.
You said that the person they thought they were a dog.
It was wildly off.
No!
Those two things do not go together.
You were close, I thought.
I don't think I was close.
All right, I'm giving you half a point anyway.
Fairy in a waterfall was not even close to where I was.
But it was
just now.
Woman in love with person whose dog. Like that was the connector. That's most of the movie.
I don't buy it.
Oh, and she has a lot of strange stalkers who attack her too, which is
lordy.
I know the movie goes. Another interesting thing too, because this is like one of the most Wallace things ever. When I was showing, I think the trailer of this to Wallace, or no, we watched some of it like at a Christmas one year, and Wallace like sought out the life story behind the woman who wrote and directed it, and she was like a Chinese woman who directed and wrote that, and like one other Chinese language movie before she died tragically, and he's like, her story really moved me, and I'm like, aw, but she did Love on a Leash.
Wow. That kind of made me feel uncomfy.
Yeah. The Uncomfortable Podcast with Hal and Lauren.
Yeah.
Or no, Hal and Shannon. Why did I say Hal and Lauren?
Because you love her.
I do.
Aw,
but
so cute.
It is. We're so goddamn adorable.
Love it. Love. Valentine's Day's coming up. It's a good time. We have our Valentine's Day dinner date planned for Sunday night. Which for the second year in a row that we've planned this has inadvertently been on Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah.
So,
We also have a date night planned. We're going to play board games, drink alcoholic beverages, and I guess the Super Bowl might be on in the background. I don't know. I still like football. I'm just not really that interested in.
I kind of like the Super Bowl for me is like one of those things where I kind of like to watch it because the stakes are so high. So it's usually a pretty cool game to watch, even if you don't care about the teams because you're like, there's so much on the line, and then they do crazy acrobatics and stuff.
Yeah, but at this point, Philadelphia could win, which would be kind of cool.
Yeah, either way, the whole city's going to burn to the ground. So.
Yeah. Yeah, the last time I saw my sister's boyfriend, Max, because they both live in Philadelphia, does not care about football whatsoever. But when the Eagles won the Super Bowl 4 or 5 years ago, he was like, "Oh yeah, I saw there was a riot outside, and I just decided to join in."
Oh my God.
Such a great Philadelphia story.
Yeah, those Philly people.
Yeah, but the Super Bowl is like, oh man, No, I worked during the Super Bowl last year, so I didn't see most of it, but I did see a little bit of it when I got home. And
we didn't see it. We went to the melting pot, and there were other couples there that like had their phone set up on the table while they were eating.
If you go to the melting pot, that's like specifically trying not to watch football, isn't it?
I know. And so this Sunday, somebody for Christmas gave us a Red Lobster gift card, so that's where we're headed. And then, well, last year we definitely made a point to watch the halftime show. Because that was the one where, like, all of those
all the hip
rappers.
Yeah. It was the Jay-Z produced one.
Yeah. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, this year it's Rihanna, I believe.
Yeah, I've never really gotten into Rihanna. I mean, like, she used to come on over, like, the middle school dances. When I was in middle school, we'd all be like, Disturbia, the words. I don't know. That's like one of the only songs I know of hers.
Okay, I will take your word for it.
I don't know. Maybe
Disturbia.
Yeah.
Does that sound anything like the song?
No,
Probably not.
Just the first part. Just the one with the actual word.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this, but a couple, like maybe, it's probably been about a decade, but the NFL realized it could squeeze even more money out of the Super Bowl show. So the people who perform for the Super Bowl halftime show have to pay millions of dollars to the NFL to do it.
I think you told me that I don't know if that was you or somebody else told me that, but somebody did.
It might have been me because like we were also talking about how like opening acts for concerts for like big tours sometimes have to buy onto those tours and things like that.
Oh, what really sucks is my favorite band is going on tour this year, but guess what? They don't have any show dates in Pennsylvania because they're rude.
What's your favorite band?
Fall Out Boy.
Fall Out Boy's not coming anywhere near Pennsylvania?
Well, the closest they're going to get is New Jersey.
Where in New Jersey are we talking?
So one of them's in Holmdel. That's the closest one. It's like 2.5 hours away. And so what's really rude is they're going to New Jersey, Ohio, New York, and just like doing a whole wraparound around Pennsylvania and not stepping one foot in there.
Well, you know, New Jersey, like if it's 2.5 hours away, that's better than Pittsburgh if they were playing there.
No, I know, but here's the thing. I did the math, okay? Tickets, the cheapest tickets, I would be on the lawn and I wouldn't see shit. And it's $79.
Don't you want to pay money to Pete Wentz's Sexiness Fund?
No. And then, like, the closer you get, like, the best seats are, like, $350. And so if I'm driving 2.5 hours and paying, like, at the least around $100 on tickets, and then I have to drive 2.5 hours back, I'm probably getting a hotel, which is another $100 and some on top of that. So right now, very least, we're going $200 plus gas plus food. It's a huge investment, and I don't think Fall Out Boy's treated me well enough for that.
That is totally fair.
The last time I saw them in concert, they were in Hershey, and that was polite.
Okay, because you actually got to see them in concert, too.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at with a lot of bands and acts that I follow nowadays, too, is like, I love seeing certain bands, but at some point, I've seen some of these bands 2 and 3 times, and like I'm like you, crunching the numbers, like, well, it's $45 for a ticket. I'll spend that much on alcohol. I have to drive down there, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Taylor Swift's at least going to be in Philly.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm going to spend money on Taylor Swift tickets. But also, who else? There was somebody else going on tour I was thinking about. Ed Sheeran is going on tour this year. The Jonas Brothers are dropping an album this year, so they are probably going on tour very shortly.
I know at least one comedian who will be going onto that tour.
Okay, but listen, I almost got to go to see the Jonas Brothers the last time they went on tour. I had tickets, but then I got COVID, and I had to give my tickets to somebody else.
They played Hershey, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, and I was so excited because the tickets I found were like they were cheap. And I probably wouldn't have seen much, but I would have breathed the same air as the Jonas Brothers, and that was enough for me. But then I got COVID, and I couldn't go.
Boo, COVID.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry about it, too. Maybe I can get a second chance at seeing the Jonas Brothers live.
Yeah, you can just catch them on their next farewell tour.
Big Time Rush is also going on tour this year.
I'd forgotten Big Time Rush even existed.
And they're going to be in Hershey.
I used to see ads for them on when I would watch Degrassi repeats on the N.
I'm pretty excited. Ryan actually kind of likes Big Time Rush. Maybe I'll convince him to come with me.
It was a big night last night, actually, for like boy bands, because Harry Styles won Album of the Year. I saw.
Yeah, I saw that.
Did not listen to a single word of Harry Styles, but it's interesting that like. I guess he was the super handsome one everybody liked from One Direction.
Oh, yeah. He was easy favorite for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Although I liked all of them. I thought they were very cute. Except for Zayn. I wasn't really into Zayn. But
other than Harry Styles, don't know who any of these people are.
Do you know how funny it is? So way back in the day, One Direction came out with like these cups. And these cups had all their faces on. You could get a set, and there's, 5 of them, and you get a set of 5, and they're all different colors, and they had the picture of each of them on the cups with their names on it. So you'd have like Niall and Louis and Liam and all of them. And you can just imagine my dad's joy of opening the cabinet every single day and seeing these boys and being like, what is... And I'm just upstairs blasting all of my One Direction music.
This just comes with the territory if you have a teenage daughter, I imagine.
Yeah.
I assume this is when you were teenaged.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about it so I was reading articles today about his win, and one of them was like the 29-year-old, and I was like, I didn't realize Harry Styles only 3 years older than me. It could have been.
It could have been. Yeah, very much within the age range proportionality of men to women.
It makes sense.
Although you shirk the trend on that because you said Ryan's younger than you, right?
Yeah, Ryan's almost exactly a year younger than me. We were both born in June, so he's only like 3 weeks shy of being exactly a year younger than me.
That's weird, but adorable at the same time.
It is very adorable. But I mean, here's the thing: if you're famous and cute, age is but a number.
What you were just talking about too, with like Big Time Rush and all that, because like I do associate them with Degrassi. I was going through like all of the like channel, like the streaming services, just looking randomly for things I watched as a teenager. HBO Max does have all 15 seasons of Degrassi: The Next Generation on it.
Oh, really?
And I was like, I'm going to watch the shit out of this. And then immediately forgot that the first 2 episodes of Degrassi: The Next Generation involve Emma meeting a child predator online and being like forced into his hotel room. And I'm like, oh
my goodness.
And I was texting Laura when this was happening. I'm like, I feel really uncomfortable watching this. She's like, Hal, you're supposed to feel uncomfortable. It's a girl getting trapped by a predator.
Yeah.
And the episode did creepier things than 15-year-old Hal remembered for that.
Yeah. TV is a weird thing, like when you watch it when you're a teenager and then you go back and watch it again. Crazy.
Yeah. But Disney, I don't know why I didn't consider doing this already, but Disney Plus has every single Disney Channel original movie.
Yes, it does.
It has Smart House. It has Johnny Tsunami. It has the 16th Year, where the guy from Smart House turns into a mermaid. No, wrong one. It has Luck of the Irish, where the guy from Smart House becomes a leprechaun.
Sorry.
I know all these movies. It has Genius, where the kid from Jurassic Park 3 is a genius.
Do you remember the movie Baby Geniuses?
Yes.
I loved that when I was a kid.
See, this goes back to what we were talking about before, because Baby Geniuses, and specifically Baby Geniuses 2,
Baby Geniuses 2.
They're considered to be like some of the worst movies of all. Like Baby Geniuses 2 was very close to the bottom of the IMDb bottom 100 for years. But obviously it was made for kids and you enjoyed it. So,
what do you think is the worst movie you've ever seen?
Ooh. This is a very deep question, because the absolute worst movie I've ever seen that had no like redeeming funness to it whatsoever was a movie my brother-in-law showed me called That Winning Season, which was famous for being a ridiculously expensive independent film that's really horrible. Like, it looks worse than the worst VidJam movie you can imagine, but it was produced like in 1999. And they got all these really incredible, intricate, computer-generated graphics in the middle of their movie that have nothing to do with the movie, but bumped the cost of the movie close to almost $100 million, I think.
Oh my gosh.
And it was like there was no entertaining, redeeming value in that movie. Like, that was probably the worst bad movie I've ever seen.
What's the plot?
I don't know.
That was just bad. The plot was bad.
Well, let me look it up. What was the worst movie you ever saw?
Well, so my instincts here are The Shack. And the reason being is because it's not because it's a religious film. I'm not, fully prejudiced against religious films, but it's a terrible religious film full of apologetic nonsense.
Oh, man.
And the whole story is just super fucked, and I was just angry watching it. And so technically, there was nothing wrong with the movie in terms of, the acting or anything like that. It's just the source material was so horrible. But I will say a movie that I walked away feeling absolutely uncomfortable after was Your Highness, which came... Do you remember that?
Yeah, because actually I had some debates with my roommate in California at the time this movie came out. The trailer looked really dumb, and I was like, I don't have any interest in seeing this movie. And his response, he was a young kid. He's like, man, that movie is how I judge people as intellectual or not intellectual moviegoers. And he loved it, just to make this clear. And yeah, Your Highness did not look like anything that I would want to watch.
No, for half of the film, the main character, played by Danny McBride, who I don't love in general, is wearing a minotaur penis around his neck on a necklace. So you have to stare at a penis for about 60% of the film.
See, that would be another question. Worst mainstream movie I've ever seen. Oh, there's so many to choose from.
I know.
God. This is too big of a question for right now, for this time of night.
Maybe another time.
I'll come back to you next time. That could be another episode we get Wallace on. Talk about favorite bad movies.
Yeah, that would be fun. For sure. What else is going on?
Not a ton. I'm trying something new with stand-up this next week.
Okay.
That I did want to talk a little bit about. I've always been very much into musical comedy in general. I've done so much stuff with musical improv around The Hit, for instance, and all that stuff. And I've never actually put it down and decided to actually write a comedic song for a stand-up thing. If I wrote a song, it was for a vid jam or something like that, like Soulmate Rock. And
jam.
I loved Soulmate Rock. But yeah, I decided to I have a couple of topics that I'm going to try to write a song on each week. And the first one I'm writing, or I wrote the song and I'm going to try it out on Thursday if I feel ballsy enough to do so. So I have a friend named James in St. Louis who's putting together a movie called Triple Xmas, which is about a horror movie that takes place at a strip club. And he has a lot of real life porn stars in it, including Dolly Lee, which was somebody I'm familiar with her body of work. Ha ha ha, body of work. Stop talking, Hal. But anyway, because scammers are very intricate, and I was friends with him in both the film on Instagram, a fake Dolly Lee friended me. And I was like, well, this seems suspicious that an international porn star would only have 64 followers. So I took a screenshot, sent it to James, and he was like, oh, yeah, that's totally not her thing whatsoever. And I was like, oh, yeah, it makes sense. And I forgot how we got to talking about this, but he was saying that, because he's friends with her now because she's doing this movie with him, he's like, oh, yeah, and you should see the sort of comments she gets all the time on her Instagram she has to delete. Men suck. And I'm like, yep, we do suck. And then I decided to go through her Instagram and just look at some of the comments on there. Don't know why I've never gone down the wormhole of reading comments on porn sites, but they're ridiculous. And so I took a bunch of the ones I thought were the most ridiculous, and I wrote a love ballad about it called I Don't Know You, But I Masturbate to You.
I love that. I love every part of that.
And yeah, I'm going to try that out. But It is, yeah, that's something I'm excited to try out because I have a lot of other ideas for songs too that just, yeah, maybe it's just laziness or maybe just trying to do traditional stand-up, but I've never tried to do musical stand-up.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That sounds fun.
Yeah, we will see. It could be a thing, or it could not be a thing.
And worst you can do is try.
Mm-hmm. But I'm excited to try the new stuff in general. So,
yeah.
How about you? What do you got going on besides the murder mystery, which is coming up?
Saturday, the Cafe Murder Mystery Dinner Theater. If you haven't already gotten your tickets, too bad. No, I'm just kidding.
Is it sold out at this point?
No. Last I heard, we had sold about 30 tickets and counting. And we're capping it at 100. So I'm going to be checking tomorrow to see how many pre-sold tickets we have, but you will be able to get tickets at the door either via cash or check. It is BYOB.
Woo!
And a good group of people. We've been having a lot of fun doing this. It's adorably corny and campy, and it will just warm your heart.
It's like everybody go out to like.
Yeah.
I know a lot of our listeners here like Shannon and like supporting her art stuff. So if you got nothing to do on Saturday night, go out for the murder mystery thing. Murder Cafe, is that what it's called?
Cafe Murder.
Cafe Murder, okay.
Yeah. So that's one thing, and then
Breath of the Wild is your phone background.
Yeah, because I've started playing it again, and I've been doing the DLC. I just had it pulled up. Doing a show on February 25th.
Yay!
So it's at the Vegetable Hunter Vegan Cafe and Boutique Brewery. That's in Carlisle. Headliner is Manny Santiago, a good friend of ours. We love him. He's so funny.
He's gonna have a girl.
Oh no! It's so cute. I didn't believe it when he said he was having a baby. I was like, oh, liar. But also appearing will be Hurricane, Gary Limoges, Sarah Cartwright, and Lennon Free. So
I know all those people, and they're really funny.
All of these are I looked at the lineup. I was like, oh, these are all my friends. I'm so excited. So tickets are $25. They include admission and a beer or soft drink.
Ooh.
So check that out. I'll post that to the Instagram after Cafe Murder's all taken care of. So yeah, a couple of things going on for me this month.
I'm happy.
Cool.
Happy you're getting booking. Are you going to submit to the Comedy Zone for the hosting stuff?
Yeah, I think I'll film this show coming up because I don't have any videos of a solid 10 for me, but I need to do 10 for this show, so I'll probably just have somebody film me for that.
I should have had somebody film me at my last show, but here's a weird thing about me. I actually don't like filming my shows at all. Some of it is just like body insecurity about like how I look and things like that. But I really like you always see like a ton of comedians at shows like setting up their own cell phone tripod and stuff like that. And just never, I think there are like 2 videos I have of me doing stand up, one of which is the very first time I did it. And other than that, I really just I don't know.
I really need to video myself more because I'm trying to have more of a social media presence as a comedian, and I'm not doing a very good job at it.
Me too.
So, so I've been trying to record myself more so I can post little bits on my TikTok and stuff. So
that's partly too why I want to do some of the musical stuff too. Like I know that like if you have a lot of bits, you just sort of select the best ones you can think of and things like that.
Yeah.
But if I was doing songs, like I've recorded songs and posted those to YouTube many times. Like that's an easier thing for me to do.
Yeah.
So
maybe. But yeah, if you haven't heard, the Comedy Zone is seeking submissions for some new weekend hosts. Competition looks to be pretty stiff, so give them your best. I believe the submission entries end at the end of February. So
February 25th, I think is when they said, right?
Oh, I hope it's not February 25th because that's when the show is.
Or maybe I just got that in my head because you just said that.
Said it.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so check that out if you are hoping to host on the weekends at the Comedy Zone. Pretty good gig so far as I've heard. So
yeah, I've been there to see Karen host.
Yeah.
And it seems I'm so used to the Comedy Zone just being like a spackling of like comics at an open mic that it had been so long since I'd seen the place packed and sold out on a weekend, which it does. And like there are 150 people in there.
Yeah,
so
great shows. They always put on something great. I love to go to the Comedy Zone, so I'm excited for when this murder mystery dinner theater thing is over, so that I can go back to the Zone instead of having to go to rehearsal.
Yeah, I've had such bad luck with going to the Zone, just like with everything. Like, it's been about a month since I did stand up there, and like 1 week I was just too tired and feeling sick and didn't go. The next week I was out of town. Then last week I totally forgot we had open screen, which I love doing stand up, but unfortunately like the VidJam stuff will always be like the stuff that comes first for me. So I really want to get back into it and keep doing more stand up stuff.
Yeah, I definitely, and I think it's hard too in the winter because it's not really the season for comedy in the winter. So I love when it's spring and we can all hang out and have a good time and people are more likely to come out. So it's good stuff. So hopefully we'll see more of that.
Yeah, speaking of open screen too, I wanted to give a shout out to my friend Will Rowe, who listens to this podcast apparently.
Nice.
But he's not on social media at all, so I occasionally forget that he exists as a person. But I saw him at Open Screen because he had some films playing, and he was like, hey, I listened to your podcast, and it's cool. I feel like I get to hang out with you whenever I listen to it. And I'm like, that's really cool. Thanks,
so
Will.
Nice.
Yeah, Will's a super nice guy. I don't know if you've ever met him at any of the VidJam screenings.
Possibly.
So there's a lot of people there always.
There's a lot of people there. Well, shout out to everyone who listens to the podcast. We appreciate you sticking with us through a couple rocky weeks there, but hopefully we're back on track. Fingers crossed. And yeah, all good times. We're happy to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to save this episode afterwards, and if this crashes, you will never hear anything from Depression Vacation ever again. I will cry.
I cry.
I will go home, cry, and drink all the alcohol that people gave me for my birthday.
And then, like, months from now, we'll be like, hey, remember when we used to do a podcast?
She remembers. Anyway, until next time, I've been Hal.
I've been Shannon.
And have yourself a great week.